Hi everybody, hi Mom. Okay, I'm going to attempt a tutorial for you. I've had several requests on how I do my covers. Now, because of time constraints, I didn't start from scratch, but I will explain what I did for, getting it prepped for the next section. I'm using a file folder that I've cut down to size, and then on the inside, in this section here, I've cut a piece of Tyvek, which is what security envelopes are made of. It doesn't tear. So I've Mod Podged or decoupaged it in. It's about this wide, and it goes down the entire spine. And then what I did was went over it with some archival ink so it's not white. And then I simply adhered my paper that was cut to the same size with decoupage. Let that dry really well, and then I just cut a little strip here for just to cover the Tyvek because I didn't like the look of it. And if you notice, there's a gap. Now there's a gap for a reason. So when you close your book, it's not hitting the edges, so you're not getting that sort of bump in the middle that prevents you from actually closing your book properly. And then I just did the exact same thing on this side. And when I do the front covers, I don't worry too much about spillage or smearing any of the decoupage on the paper because I'm going to decoupage the entire thing anyway. I just try and wipe down any ridges so that you don't have big lumps. But if there's shine here and there, I don't care because I'm going to cover it. So I've simply put down some cardstock. Now the one on the inside is Blue Fern, which is a really thick cardstock, and I wanted to, strengthen. Yeah, file folders aren't very thick, right? So that's why I use that on the inside. Then on the outside again, there's cardstock, and it's Stampin' Up! Cardstock actually. And then this is just photo paper, which is 26-pound weight. But when all said and done, you get a nice kind of, it's still pliable, but it's firmer. So because I've got the extra cardstock and the Tyvek here, I probably will, at the end of everything, I probably will put some lace or something over it, maybe even after I've stitched it. I won't do that on this video because I won't be that far ahead. So what I'm going to use is I have just a cheapo container. I'm going to use this stencil, and I'm also using the Gloss Super Heavy Gel Medium because I want dimension, and I might use some of this wax from Prima, and I'm going to use some Prima paint. I don't want it too cutesy, so the color goes great though with, here's one of the pages. So it does go quite nice. Not that it matters on the outside, but try and match it up. So let's start with that. I'm going to set this aside. And it's a good idea if you can't get up right away, if you're in the middle of doing something and you can't get up right away to wash your stencil. I have a dish over here on the side that's just got about 2 inches of water in it, and I'll just slide that stencil in there until I'm ready to clean it, because this stuff dries really quick, as well as the Prima paint dries super fast. So I don't want to ruin my stencil. You're also going to need a palette knife of some kind, whether you use the plastic one, doesn't matter. So just take out what you think you're going to use. I'm not going to use a ton, so I'm going to use about that much. It's not very much. And set that aside. And then I'm going to add some paint to it. And again, it's up to you how much you want to add. That's probably enough. And then I am going to use just this cheap paintbrush that I got at the dollar store. Just want to make sure I get most of the paint off that. Always have some paper towel on hand. And then I'm just going to simply mix it up quite well. I'm sorry if you can't see all this, but I need to see it. And this is a little like watching paint dry. It's pretty boring, but this is what I do. So you can see I don't have a lot in there, but it's definitely enough. So now I'm going to use this. So we'll get rid of this off of the paintbrush. And I'm just going to lay that in the water. Okay, so that I'm going to set aside. And then here's my book cover. Now I kind of want to do very random. I'm not one of those really picky people. I just sort of eyeball where I want stuff. And when I design, I try and design in a triangular shape so that your eye's drawn right across the page instead of all over. Your eye has no way to figure out what it's actually supposed to look at. So you make a decision on where you want to place. I'm just going to turn this so I can look at it for a minute. And I think what I want to do is I'm going to run some along here and then up along here. So now that I've done that, I can turn it back the other way. And like I said, it's random. I don't want it really picky. Just take a little bit on your palette knife. And if you're not going to be picky, then you can just sort of do it like this. And then depending on how much you leave behind, that tells you how much dimension you're going to have. So the more you scrape it down, the less dimension you're going to have. Now that's pretty dimensional, this one here, which I really like. And then if you can, just take it and just give it a quick wipe on both sides so that you're not spreading it. If you want, you can actually hit that with the heat gun a little bit. If you think your stencil is going to get really close to it, then you might want to do that. I'm not, because I'm going up here. And again, I'm just going to be pretty random with it and just kind of do it like that. Some on, some off, like that. And then I'm going to do the same side, but I'm going to just do that on the part that's going to sit on your book. Now, because I hate waiting for anything at all, I generally bend it up. So I'll lay it down and then I'll hold it with my finger like this. And yeah, I kind of do it this way. And I know it looks super awkward, and it is. But that's kind of how I roll. Yeah, I'm not super picky. And I know I got some on there, but that's not a big deal. It hasn't dried, so I'm just going to take my paper towel. And because I am going to use some wax, that's fine. Just like that. Throw that in the water. I should throw that, put some water in that at the bottom, just so it doesn't get hard in there. All right, so I've done that. And actually, I'm going to hit it with the heat gun a little bit just to dry it up a little bit. So you can tell I'm keeping it fairly neutral in shade. The whole kit is quite neutral. There are light, peaches and corals and a little bit of green and stuff in the kit. This is from Seneca Pond. I think it's called Moments. No. I forget, but I'll list it. Defining Moments, that's what it's called. So you don't want to dry it too much. Unless you want to. I mean, really, it's really up to you. Some puff. So if you're using like texture paste and you heat it, it will puff up so you get kind of a neat look. This is gloss medium, so it's not going to do that. But I do like the look of it kind of drying on its own. And after it's super dry, then I will put heavy books down on it again because it will curl a little, like it's curled a bit. But I'm not worried about that. I can fix that. Okay, so now I'm going to take my wax, if I can get the lid off. There we go. And I want to add to the edges here. everything I do is pretty random, you guys. It's not really thought out. I just do it and kind of just go with it. I love the look of the wax. It adds a shine, a bit of a sheen to it. And like I said, I didn't want the peach to be too cutesy. I'm just going to turn this so I can get to it better. And you're still on camera. This is good. I might even paint later. I don't know. It's just one of those things. This is my process. I don't really think about it. I just kind of do it. So I apologize that it's not really start to finish, but it takes too long for the decoupage to dry in between for it to really look good. And since this is a cover I'm using for my next book, I didn't want to mess it up. I don't have pause on my video camera. Doesn't come with it. So that would be like a ton of editing for me, and I really don't have the time to edit, which is why I like to do live feed if I can. Okay, that's pretty. Let's go up here. And I might want to add another color. So let's see what I've got. Now at this point, I only have a few waxes, so I probably won't use wax. I do have some paint. Yeah, let's see. Oh, this one might be alright. I think I'm going to add gold. Let's try a little gold. Again, I use my finger. It's all about using the finger. Not giving the finger, using the finger. So if you're laying down some color and you think, oh, maybe that's just a little too dark, always start with your dark, because you can always build up and lighten it as you go. And there's all kinds of mediums out there to use. You don't have to use paint. I mean, there's tons of different things that you can use. I just kind of want to cover the, what is it called? File folder. Just because it's so much lighter than what I'm working with. And so I kind of wanted to do that. And then after I've done that, I want to add some of my sparkle. Hang on one sec. I think I put it... Did I put it back or did I put it over here? Here it is. So this is another gel medium, and it's gold mica. It's got small flakes in it. So then I'm going to dab it. Because it is a medium, like a gel gloss medium, I don't stroke it on because then you end up with stroke marks after it's dried. Harder to cover those up. So I tend to dab it because after this is all done and dry, I will go over it with decoupage. And I always do a pounce method with a flat brush or a sponge brush, depending on what I'm doing. So this will just add a little bit more color, sparkle, texture. I'll hold it up closer to the camera once I get it on there. See, and I can pounce on this now. It's not soft anymore. It's fairly firm. Only because I use the heat gun though. But it does dry much faster when you're using the paint in it, because that Prima paint dries really, really fast. Okay, let me just wipe my finger off. Okay, so now hopefully I can get that light. There, you can see the sparkle in there. It went right over the texture paste up the side here. And you can tell there's a little bit of the gold paint, not too much, but it gives a shimmer. You can see the shimmer in it. And then, you know, if you wanted, you could thin down some, like a color. If you're good at painting, I'm not so great at painting, but thin it right down with another gel medium that's thinner, and then it acts as a glaze, so you could like paint her hat if you wanted to, or add stripes down into her dress. You know, you can do all kinds of things with your covers. You can add from there, you can layer your laces, you know, like if you wanted to lay some lace over top of that, and you know, I probably will, but at this point I won't, because this is as far as I usually go until my pages are done. And then when they're done, that sort of gives me an idea. Do I want to add, do I need to add more? You know, I always need to set things aside for a while and then go back to them, because sometimes I tend to overdo, and I don't want to overdo. It's much easier to add than take away. So this is as far as I go. I usually just let that dry super well. And once that's done, you know, add a book, a heavy book to it, or a stack of paper pads. They're super heavy. And leave it overnight. And then set it aside and work on the rest of the journal. And that's it. That's my process. I know it's not a lot, but honestly, that's what I do. It's easy. So have fun, get dirty, and we'll talk soon. Bye.